From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode. My name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Jen, but my computer's not working, so she'll be in soon. We have guests this week. What? I like doing voices. It's fun. We have guests. I first recognized them when I was watching my GLTC races on YouTube, especially after we talked to Adam a few weeks back. They are kart instructors, I think. They have shifter karts. I think they do instructing in like real size cars and everything. They might even have a racing school. I can't quite tell. Their YouTube channel is awesome. I even understand probably 70% of it. And then Justin gets way too deep and I just get lost, but it's awesome. I'm going to take notes and figure it out someday. He seems to be one of those mechanical savant people. It's like, well, obviously, if you take this part from here and put it in here, it works perfectly. And I'm like, how do you know this stuff? But we're going to find out today. We have Tiffany Kelly, Justin Kelly, Team Kelly Racing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, guys, who are you? And just give us a brief introduction about, what's familiar, family life, professional life, racing life.
Start it off, Tiff.
All right. Tiffany Kelly. Everybody kind of knows me as part of, like you already introduced, as Team Kelly. So Justin and I were kind of been known in the car scene because we've been doing it for years. Known for we have a driving school, kind of known to be super competitive couple. I can say that's kind of we can identify as that. Everybody knows that if we show up somewhere that we're there to win. So, and our life revolves around racing. Work life wise though, we both kind of, Justin's always cars. He's machine tool and everything for his, but I'm actually in the professional world. I'm an HR director. So I'm in human resources. So it's just, which some people like, really? You? Which is funny. And then kind of life wise, I don't know, kind of adventurous people, always kind of doing something, always like skydiving, doing the next adventure. And that's kind of,
we call that Peter Pan syndrome in our family.
Peter Pan syndrome. That's the way to put it. How does that?
We get older, we just don't grow up, It's easier.
Oh yeah, that's you can still grow up. You just have more expensive toys is how I see it.
True.
Yeah.
We'll talk about having two racers in the family shortly, but
yes, yeah. So Justin, you?
I'm Justin Kelly, the other half of Team Kelly Racing, and like Tiffany said, we pretty much all we do is racing, and we only do racing to try to win. We're not in for so much racing is for fun. I mean, racing is fun, but losing is not that fun. So that's kind of how we're known, as being pretty competitive. I started racing karts when I was 8 and been kind of in it since then. So I've been in it a long time. In my work life, I'm a forklift and heavy equipment mechanic. That's where I get some of my background. And other than that, I go to work, I get off work, and we work on race cars. That's pretty much all we do. And then we have 3 annoying dogs. So
you'll hear them kind of whining and panting in the background right now. They're like making little noises. So
that's fine. The one thing I will say is, and it's apparent if you watch the YouTube channel, you guys are not just competitive with your non-team members. You are also competitive with your team members. I've seen you two pretty much push each other because it's no fun beating somebody who's not trying real hard. And some of those are even the most fun,
No one's getting participation trophies around here.
No. Yeah. Justin's my biggest cheerleader and my biggest competitor. So it's like it's like conflicting. Yes.
So how did both of you get into racing? Now you were saying that, Justin, you were saying that you started karting at about 8. How about you, Kelly?
I
You
was
know?
always into cars. Like when I was
Tiffany.
younger, I used to work on cars and then I did an internship in a body shop while I was in high school. So I was going to high school and doing college credits and doing an internship. So that's kind of when I got into the whole car. I was more into building them and then working with the guys and like just doing the whole little street racing while you're in high school. Then I always had motorcycles. So I bought my first motorcycle in high school. So I was always in kind of racing those. And that's actually how Justin and I met, was we both met on our motorcycles at a gas station. And so I walked up to him. I was like, hey, can I ride with you and your friends? And we kind of met, hit it off, and then became best friends and started dating. And we had matching motor. Well, I ended up buying a matching motorcycle. And that's when I kind of knew we were going to be together. Because like one of our first real dates together, we went out street racing and it was like the funnest time of my life.
In Mexico.
In Mexico.
In
obviously.
Mexico.
You got to be clear. Always in Mexico.
So I've always kind of liked that. So Justin finally took me to my first autocross.
I think that was what, 8 years ago?
Yeah, about
8-ish years ago, I took Tiffany to our first autocross, and it was a disaster.
I did good though. That's why.
Listen, you almost broke my neck.
Yeah, well, I kind of spun the car out, but you did think he definitely thought, he's like, there's something there. You obviously love this.
She's been hooked ever since.
Yeah. So I was like you, I didn't start from scratch, like car wise, like on some things, but like in the racing scene on the track and everything, we actually went to our first road course to get our license together, to get our HBDE license. We did it together. We're like, okay, because he was into autocross for a bunch of years. And then someone told us, I don't even know, how did we get into the road course?
Well, most of my background was in karting. So, I mean, I raced karts up until I was in my mid-20s. And then her and we got into the cars kind of together. I always did some autocross stuff, but no road course stuff. And then we jumped in with NASA and went through the HPD program and got our time trials license and then started instructing for them. And then, one thing led to another, and then wheel to wheel. And, then
it just kept escalating. So like you guys will probably be there, and like you just keep going. It keeps going and going.
It's there's no end.
Yeah.
Too dumb to give up now, right?
That's right.
And too much invested. It's not a sunk cost.
Yeah. Once you spend $20, you can't back out.
So it's been kind of a nice thing for us. It's always been there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's racing with your significant other is always fun. Well, not always, but we'll get to that too.
Yeah.
So when you guys are at the racetrack, it looks like you guys are fairly interchangeable in terms of what you do and what your interests and responsibilities are. But how do you guys divide up when you're at a race together? Is there kind of a division of duties, or do you just kind of, you see 4 feet sticking out the hood, it's you guys?
We've kind of gotten to the point now where the two cars are so demanding as far as maintenance and mechanical wise that Tiffany and I really don't go anywhere without the rest of the team. There's a team of 4 of us, my younger brother, Josh, and then the brains of the operation, Dean. The 4 of us pretty much travel everywhere together, and everyone kind of has their job. And I don't think Tiffany and I could really do it without the rest of the team. There's so much between.
We used to, but we've definitely learned the more competitive you get, the more, the more things you're doing to your car and in between races. Like we both, when we used to race just him and I, and we'd show up to the track with our old trailer and stuff. Yeah. We both would do our own tires, fill up our own gas, check your own air pressure between races, but you're trying to scramble and get yourself in the car. But now it's nice to have some extra backup because it's super helpful when something kind of goes wrong. Then someone's like so that's how we kind of divide it up. If one car, like if he blows a transmission or I blow a transmission, or if we do something like that, then all the teams, like all hands on deck, get that car going. But the goal of this year, we've been trying to make sure is that the cars are so reliable that all we hopefully are doing between sessions is just kind of doing alignment changes or setup on the setup on the car. But
and we've done great so far. We've only blown up my engine at the first weekend, so off to a great start.
You had an inauspicious beginning, but the last race looked like it went pretty well, except for the rain.
Yeah. I mean, both cars still obviously need to be ironed out, but reliability-wise, last race, knock on wood, reliability-wise was flawless. Cars ran great, so.
Yeah.
So you guys mix your road course GLTC, I think, primarily, and then you have on the side, because that's too easy. You just keep going with the karting and the shifter karts. Is there anything else for the race schedule that we need to keep aware of?
We started the season off with the GLTC schedule, the shifter kart schedule, and then our driving school schedule. And the karting is kind of last priority. It's something that we use more as a practice and keep our driving skills honed on the off season. If we have extra time during race season, sure, but we don't do a ton of it during the season. We have a driving school at least once a month, if not twice a month. So between that and GLTC and doing cars repair and maintenance, it would be nice to make it to more shifter car races in the middle of the season, but it's just not physically possible right now.
Like there's one this weekend, but we leave Tuesday night for another race for GLTC in Colorado. So we're like, gosh, that would be a lot going to Kansas City to kart right now, leaving Tuesday. So it just kind of packs our schedules. Like every single weekend seems like we're gone in a different state, and because we're in Nebraska too. So
well, you're in the middle. The one race that I have on my bucket list is Thunder Hill 25, and it's definitely not close to us because we're in Pennsylvania and Jennifer's in Delaware. So the middle's got some advantages too.
It does, yeah. But most of the GLTC races, and they're actually helping us out this year, they're most on the coast. So like we're always having to go to like Michigan and Chicago and so on, having to go that way. But it's nice this year they're actually doing Topeka. And that's like one of our home tracks because it's only 3 hours from us. So that's actually amazing.
I mean, none of them are far. They're all within 8 hours, which 8 hours is kind of far, but after you've done it for a few years, 8 hour drive gets pretty easy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just to note though, the karting, I love the karting. It's actually kind of like my fun. I don't know.
I hate karting. It's awful.
No, he loves it too, but I hate that when we miss it. I actually love when we can squeeze in a shifter kart race, but obviously it goes GLTC in our school.
Mm-hmm. So we already talked a little bit about my Thunder Hill 25. That's the goal. Do you guys have any goals, dreams, bucket list items left on the agenda right now, or are you in the midst?
The end goal is, after when we find the end of this road, whether it be GLTC or whatever, the goal is to jump into a pro series, whether it's Trans Am, Pirelli World Challenge. I'm not sure which one yet. We've thrown around the ideas of building a pro car for pro series. We just have to find the right time and the right spot. So that's the end goal, is to get into a pro series where, we have sponsors paying for a pro seat and, winning money, hopefully, which not winning money to go positive. I mean, obviously the only way to become a millionaire racing is to start with 2 million, but if I could get paid $25, I'd be thrilled,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think we do have another business. We do have a business side goal. I will say those are our personal goals. Like we both want to race pro, but our business goal is like, we want to try to do an arrive and drive program. So right now that's what we're trying to do. So our racing school right now, we rent the track, we have the racing school, and then we have a car that's built so people can actually rent the car for our driving school and learn how to drive. But our end goal is to actually build cars for GLTC and basically travel, and people can rent the car and race in GLTC by renting out our cars and have a whole weekend where they just rent the seat out from us. So the end goal of that is actually to have a fleet of that. And that's what we're slowly building up to. And so that's the business side.
I know a potential client of yours. He looks like me. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah, so the plan is next year is to debut one arrive and drive car for GLTC. We have one of the guys that crews for us a couple times a year is already committed to running the car for next year. So that the goal is to start with one, and then maybe by the end of the year next year have a second one, and have their own crew that goes with those cars. I mean, there's not a lot of arrive and drive programs like WRL. There's some arrive and drive seats, but they're really, really expensive. I mean, not that anything is cheap, but F4, any of those, you're spending $25,000 to $50,000 per weekend, and that's just not feasible for a grassroots racer that wants to get their foot in the door into something else.
So, what is your racing philosophy?
Racing philosophy.
Do you have a racing philosophy?
If you were a car, what car would you be? No, I'm just kidding.
They've been saying it for a while. If you're showing up, win.
Yeah, like actually, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if we have our racing philosophy, I think that one's kind of an open-ended question for us. Like for us, it's always just win, no matter what. Do what it takes to win.
Yeah, I don't think we ever load up cars and head to an event expecting to, we go there to win. And that's the whole team. Our whole team of 4 is the same way. We don't do all the work on the cars just for to turn laps and burn up consumables. We're going there to try to win races. So.
Yeah.
Yes, there's that fun. So we talked a little bit about GLTC, and we had Adam on a while back, but I'm assuming we've got listeners who may or may not be familiar with GLTC. So maybe we should just review it real quick, exactly what GLTC means. It's not just four letters that are jumbled like for Scrabble, so you get extra points with no consonant, no vowels. But
Absolutely.
Grid Life Touring Cup. So it's Grid Life's wheel-to-wheel series that they started in 2019. It is a 12.5-to-1 weight to power ratio with different modifiers based on aero and tire choice, engine size. So basically, we're always working on trying to get the rules to where any car can come out and compete. Try to make all the cars as even as possible. But it has grown into questionably the most competitive grassroots club race in North America. I mean, we max out tracks, at 50, 60 cars. So it's in one class.
Yeah.
So it's really turned into, it's not a low budget. It can be low budget, but the front guys are spending big money to run, and it's ridiculous.
But a key note about it, one reason we love GLTC is because it is the most competitive class he's talking about, but we even have pro racers who have joined this year, and they're not even winning. Like, this is the top of the top drivers I've ever raced with. And if you even make a mistake on the track, you're behind. So it's just one of those, like, if you want to be good or you want to be pushed with the best and you want to compete against the best, and if you win, you actually get the credit for it, not just a participation trophy. Like, it's the class to race in. But that's what we thrive off. And so that's why it's like something I know is more competitive than some pro series. And so that's one reason we haven't tried to even jump over to a pro series, because it's like we're literally driving in the most competitive wheel-to-wheel series in the United States.
And not only that, but I worked on an F4 team a few years ago, and I've been to quite a few pro races, and you still, on TV, a pro series always looks like it's a big glamorous, tons of spectators, but unless it's like Formula One or NASCAR, there's nobody there. I mean, we went to F4 and there was maybe 10 spectators.
It was nuts.
You go to Grid Life, like on a festival weekend, like coming up, we have this Colorado weekend, there's going to be thousands upon thousands of spectators, which is not something you typically get in a club racing type deal. And that really adds to the pressure and the excitement of the weekend.
Yeah, Bill Griffin's been trying to get us to go out to an event, and we keep looking. We don't have a car and we don't have the skill yet, but we might do like the HPDs and just go there, or maybe
even if you just came out for the experience. You would have a car after you came out and experienced it.
Yeah, we found out about Grid Life during COVID. I didn't even know it existed. So when we had an opportunity to go, we're just like, they kind of had it still. But I figure we'll wait till things kind of relax a little bit. Then we'll attend a Grid Life.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Well, the crazy part is that's actually like why our first Grid Life is what got us hooked. We went to one of their huge festivals, and there's 10,000 people like watching like our race. There was like 4,000 people on the fence. You like look over and you're like, oh my gosh, and it was the funnest experience I've ever had in my life. Like the concerts and the festival and the tents, and then you're racing, and it's just nuts. And there's all these great cars and all these thousands of people, and it's this huge festival. And then after this, you're like, how would I not join this? Like, this is the coolest experience on the planet.
We didn't think the Grid Life experience would be quite the same with the social distancing involved. So we were waiting for that to pass.
We were just happy to get to race last year.
Exactly.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We ended up, I think,
for us, wrench in things.
Yeah, for us, I think we just trained all last year, and just we skipped the races, but we just trained because they were just smaller groups. So okay.
And so when you say train, like, did you guys just meet at a track, or what did training consist of?
I think I did 9 HPDs, maybe 10, and Vicky and Jen did like 5. And we went we went to farthest HPD we went to was Gingerman. So we traveled 16 hours, but it is what it is. You go to where we feel we get the most instruction, which is NASA Great Lakes. So
I have raced with some people from Great Lakes, because when we raced with NASA, we were Central Region, and so a lot of Great Lakes or Texas region was the one we went to Hallett.
To Hallett.
Yeah. So that's awesome. If you're getting some really good instruction, it's worth it though. It's worth every seat times everything. And if you get a good instructor, I did learn though, you have to be you have to be mindful. Every instructor teaches different. So if you latch on to the ones that teach you the best, right? Because there's some people who learn in different ways. And then, and I was an instructor for NASA for years. And I definitely learned like people learn in different ways, but you could always tell there's some that'll stick out in your brain. You're like, okay, they knew what they were doing. Like they helped me. I'm sure you guys have had that one instructor that'll always stick out to you.
Yeah. So how did each of you choose the cars that you're driving?
So that's an interesting question. So my FRS, I bought brand new in 2013, and it was going to be a normal daily that I maybe took to Evercross every once in a while.
And this was a normal daily.
Yeah, very normal. I mean, it was like, just a basic sports car, nothing super crazy. And then I did some autocrosses with it. And then I think I broke a transmission. And then I remember it went from like stock to broken and then immediately straight to like turbocharged, fully built, and then just blew it up like 5 times. Then it sat in my garage for like 5 years broken. I think I put like 8,000 miles on it. Sat in the garage broken because we were racing with NASA. I was racing a friend's Mustang for a couple of years. And then once we got to Grid Life, it was like, okay, I have a reason to build this car. So that's how that one came to be. And the S2000 we bought as a daily. We bought it, flew out to Atlanta, drove it back. It was like a mint, like perfect example of what a premium S2000 should look like. Started
what vehicle is it?
Honda S2000.
Okay.
That's what I race. Yeah. So.
And Tiffany started autocrossing it, and we just cut it up into pieces, and it had a few crashes, and here we are. Now it's a race car.
Well, it was a race car somewhat when it crashed it, but yeah, it's been through a lot.
So we talked a little bit about the Grid Life, and I think it's 12-1 for
12.5 to 1.
12.5. Okay.
Yep.
Are there any other rules restrictions? Because it seems like the variety of cars in a single level is something I haven't seen elsewhere. I mean, there's it goes from there's a Miata there, shockingly, and it goes up to E46
Corvettes.
BMWs, Corvettes. They're purple and amazingly fast, at least for the first few laps. And some people are on slicks, and some people are
Mr.
on
Swenson.
Yeah, Swenson.
It's all
so they do a great job. I mean, and Adam, we're always trying to, by us, I mean the competitors and Adam are always trying to work together to kind of make the rules to where all the cars are even. So if you run on a street tire, you get to have extra horsepower versus like the base tire is like a slick, a Hoosier, a DOT slick. And then if you run like a 100 tread wear tire, you get a little bit extra power. And if you run like a 200 tread wear tire, you get even more power. So like Jeremy Swenson in the purple vet runs street tire, so he gets more power. And then if you have a wing and a splitter, you take more horsepower hits for that. So if you run no wing and no splitter, you get to have more power. So coming up into Pikes Peak, knowing that it's not really an aero track, I'm going to be trying to run no aero at that track. I might die, but we got to risk it. So
that's so there's tons of different paths, and you guys have chosen the ever-present K. No, I mean J swap.
That's right.
Why K? Just you wanted to go one letter earlier?
The number one reason is because everyone does the K and it's awful. It sounds awful. I don't like it because it's very common. I hate common things.
We don't like to be like everybody else.
So last year, both cars ran the F series, which is what comes in S2000 stock. We swapped one into the FRS, which was the first, and I think it still is the only ever FRS BRZ platform with an F series in it. Ran that for a whole season. And then towards the end of the year, we were like, we need more torque. Everyone was moving to the K series, which was about 70 more pounds of torque than what our F series was making. And talking with Brent from PFI Speed, he was like, well, let's do a J series. And thinking it over, we decided that was the way to go. And deep down the rabbit hole we went.
Yeah, just developed it.
So if you were to compare the J to the K, what would kind of be the the advantages, disadvantages. I think there's a difference in the torque delivery and probably cost, I would think, right?
Yeah, so the K series has really shot up in price. It's so common now that everyone's wanting them. I think a typical K series engine, by the time you get done getting it, race ready, costs $1,000 to $1,500. Where we got these J series brand new in the Honda crate for less than $500, and the engines weigh within 10 pounds. So the J is a V3, ours are 3.5 liter V6s, and they weigh within 10 pounds of what a 2.4 liter K series weighs. But they're shorter, so the weight is lower in the car. And they're also length shorter because they're only 3 cylinders deep. So they actually fit in the cars better. They're cheaper, and they make more torque. So, I mean, our engines make, for the GLTC class, we're making right around 200 horsepower and 220 pounds of torque. Last year, we made 200 horsepower and 140 pounds of torque. And a K series makes roughly 200 horsepower and 180 to 190 pounds of torque.
So are you guys noticing that difference? Well, you weren't running Ks last year, but are you noticing the difference between your cars last year and this year?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
so just with all the testing, we've been doing a lot of testing since the last couple of races because obviously we've added the engines are a little heavier than the F series was, so we have a little more front weight than we did. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve getting the suspension dialed back in. But going over the data, we can definitely see the benefits of the torque on corner exit. I mean, we're definitely making more power coming out of the corner, and it makes the car a lot easier to drive. You can make a mistake and recover from it, where the F series, if you made a mistake, it was going to haunt you for the rest of the lap. It was really hard to recover from a mistake.
So what did you learn or what was harder than anticipated from the engine swaps?
I'd say the mapping, the throttle.
There was a lot. Originally, it was going to be the J series in the S2000 is a common swap. They started doing that in the 2000s when the car came out. So that was a bolt-on affair. Now I can put quotes on that because it was a bolt-on kit, but it did not just bolt in. We still had to make a lot of modifications. But the S2000 wasn't too bad. But obviously, once again, it had never been done in the FRS, so we had to do it all custom from scratch. A lot of companies jumped on board and helped, and that helped. And then we also decided that on top of a new engine, we would try a new ECU, which Fuel Tech, which is the shirt I have on, is a Brazilian-based company. They typically run their main staple is drag racing, and they wanted to get their hands into road course racing. So we're kind of their test mule, and that had some challenges and now has been really awesome. A great improvement from what we had before. So, we're always learning and trying to really get the most out of everything, but I think we're headed in the right direction.
So, how did you go about building a wiring harness? I mean, we haven't tried it yet, but
Man,
we have a few cars that need it.
Yeah, that was,
It was a good experience.
Yeah, we could have easily just started with normal wiring and a normal harness, but no.
What fun is that, right?
So we bought, all mil spec wiring, all the top, motorsports grade stuff, and then
Nice.
we bought a series from HP Academy on YouTube. They sell.
I have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we
Almost
bought their
done.
wiring series.
Yeah.
Went through that along with a lot of other just miscellaneous YouTube videos. And once again, just like trial by fire. I mean, they actually turned out really well. We had to make a few little changes, but I'd say it probably took us 40 to 60 hours to make each harness.
Which it would be less now, and we learned a lot. Like, there's definitely things where I would never do it that way again. So it was a good, like he's saying. So we could definitely make more and it would be a lot faster. But you have to, your first build of it, wiring harness is shouldn't have done that.
But we know where every wire is. So it's like, if there's a problem, it's very easy. If I bought a harness or had someone make a harness and had a problem with the track, I would have to try to diagnose it. And it would be a disaster. So I'm happy we went that route. And now we have the information to build another one, and we've learned a lot.
Yeah.
But it was, it was easier than I thought, but my anticipation on how easy it was going to be was not. I didn't think it was gonna be very easy.
All right,
so.
and he says it was super easy, but there was some moments like it was I wasn't big into wiring before this year, and so I loved it, but there was a little bit of a learning curve.
I mean,
like,
Tiffany came from no wiring experience.
yeah, so I
Right.
definitely had to watch the HP, and I'd like watch the video and I'd like stop it and be like, wait, can you explain that again?
Yeah.
And wait, what volt is that supposed to be at? And then so I loved it though. Like now my whole brain on wiring is like I have a completely different understanding and view of it. So
Yeah, the only thing I would complain about that series is everything just sounds so much easier with an Australian accent behind it. I'm like, oh, that's easy. I could do that. And then I get out there and it's
when
like,
he makes something
no.
seem, you just go ahead and perform the crimp, and there you
That's right.
go.
That's right.
because he's very laid back.
He's very
about it.
chill, yeah, for
he's
sure.
like, yeah.
He's almost Bob Ross like, but that
Yeah, he is very Bob Ross like. That's true.
yeah. He just doesn't have the little happy clouds and stuff floating around behind him, but that's okay.
Not yet.
Not
But
yet.
they do-
Maybe-
I will say they're very good at it. I will say those are good videos. So if people need to watch those to get some information, I would definitely recommend them to those.
Yeah, we
Yes,
have
it
the
was very
wiring and the engine rebuild. So
Yep.
we're going to try those. All right. So I mentioned this early in the beginning. Justin and Tiffany, you both seem to have an entirely different level from where we've worked to, which is, barely off of ground zero. And engine, mechanical swaps, all these different options. And, we're trying to skip a couple levels. So where did you get this from, and what are your resources that you learn things and find these little tricks and trades?
So they're really the only way, in my opinion, the best, quickest way to learn is by breaking things continually.
Oh, we're on the path then.
I'm not. I mean, that's 90% of what I have learned is because we broke it and I had no money or time to find someone to fix it. So the option was fix ourselves or we don't go racing. Other than that, I mean, I use YouTube for nearly everything.
Yeah.
So, and having the right people who you can ask the right questions to is important.
Yeah.
So, finding people that are experts in their line of work, having them on speed dial and being able to contact people for help makes a really big difference.
That's
Yeah,
what
I think my problem is I've been using YouTube as a background knowledge that I'm trying to learn from, as opposed to I need to know how to replace or pull the lock out of an E46 and go and looking for like tasks. I'm kind of building a base as opposed to be more strategic. So maybe I need to balance that a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, and honestly, I can tell you when I use YouTube, I'll typically try to tackle the problem myself with no knowledge, just from doing it myself and without destroying it typically. And then when I go to watch a YouTube video, I know roughly what they're, because it's hard to go to a YouTube video from nothing, where at least if I've got my hands in it a little bit, then I can watch the YouTube video, and then when they're talking about parts and showing things, I know, I can understand what they're showing me. So that helps quite a bit too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of with our YouTube video, even though we're kind of slacking a little. Like we still post our last weekend. We kind of try to keep it at that. Like this is what we're doing and this is why, to help other racers too. It's kind of the same way. Like because we're always trial by error. You're always developing. I'd say Justin's definitely the fabricator of the team. I'll come over and he'll be like, well, I made this bracket for this. And I'm like, how did you even think of that? Like, so, but you have to, some of it, it's not on a YouTube video. Like someone hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Like he said, with the new J, there's been so much development with it. So it's just kind of trial by fire. It would be nice if someone else did it so we wouldn't have to have so much trial by fire.
I mean, but even,
I think Justin enjoys breaking stuff.
Well, and that's where like Dean on our, if anything, Dean on our team has taught me is anything can go anywhere. You just can't be afraid to cut it. And I think going into racing in my past, it was like, I tried to leave things alone and modify things to make them fit without getting too crazy. And then Dean just comes over the cutoff wheel and just starts cutting things up, and it's done in like 15 minutes. So I'm like, I guess I'm not afraid to cut up a brand new vehicle anymore. So that helps.
Wow.
Cut it enough. It's not new.
That's after my S2000, my race car now, in the beginning, I didn't want to do anything to it. Like even pulling out the interior, like that was a struggle for me because it was like a mint car. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like those are brand new seats. And finally, he finally made me gut it. After that, it was so much easier to cut things and do stuff. But you almost have to get over that little hurdle of
Definitely.
a race car.
So you two may be the perfect people to discuss this. Vicky has a turbo Miata, and she is petrified about cutting into the hood to make vents.
We had that argument.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
know
a
it has
factory-
to
a
happen.
Mazda Speed Miata?
No, it's the Flying Miata Stage 2.
Okay, aftermarket turbo. Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's hot.
Yep.
Yeah, it sure is.
You have two options. Either you can get like an aftermarket, you can get like a carbon fiber hood, so you can take that one off if you're scared to cut it and you want
No.
to keep it for no reason.
Don't do that.
But no, I know. I'm just telling you. This is what the two options that ran through my head when I had to cut my hood. It was like I can keep this one on the side and then just go buy a carbon fiber one or a cheap one that's already dented and you cut that one up, or just cut it because eventually, like, it's going to get scratched and everything anyways, and like it's not.
Right.
I guess for me, what's the first question? Is where to cut it, what to get? I mean, what are you wondering first?
I just want to I'm afraid of making an error. Because then,
So if you buy from like Track Spec, they come with cardboard templates that you cut out
Yeah.
that you can tape right on the hood and you can make sure everything's right. The old measure 7 times, cut once works pretty well. But I lay everything out with painter's tape.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I lay everything out with painter's tape, mark everything out, and I know exactly where I'm going to cut it. And as long as you plan ahead, it works out pretty well. And,
what are you
and
using
it's
to cut it?
a cutoff wheel on an angle grinder works the best. I think, are the hoods aluminum or steel on the Miata on that?
I think it's an NB. I think it's aluminum.
Yeah, so I mean, a cutoff wheel works great. I use a cutoff wheel on all the straights, and then like in the corners, I'll use like a hole saw. Use a hole saw, drill the whatever size hole saw you need to get the right radius. Use that in the corners, and then just cut straight lines with the angle grinder.
Yeah, I know it has to happen. I know it has to happen. And I have the kit and I have the template. It got to be brave.
She doesn't want that cutoff wheel going towards her hood. Every time she grabs the tool, she's like, no, I'm good.
You gotta do the painter's tape though. You gotta do the painter's tape in case you slide. Like
put your safety glasses on and just send it.
Well, we had a joke.
Send it.
My Tiffany templates. Remember when I was cutting up
Oh
stuff?
yeah, Tiff's learning how to make templates. Don't use Tiffany's templates, but
He was making fun of when I was making templates before I'd cut stuff, so I'd have it, and then it was like I'm going to sell these online, Tiffany templates, but it never. Obviously, I thought it was a genius for a night. Really.
So, with regards to racing with your significant other, do the pluses outweigh the minuses? Because obviously the cost is.
Justin, you better say
Otherwise,
yes.
we would be racing solo.
Well, I mean, like for instance, obviously the cost is doubled.
Yeah, that's obnoxious. That's a definite where people don't realize that because they're like, oh, you should try to convince my wife to race with me. I'm like, do you want to take on that burden? Like in like a small way.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to be against it, but it is.
Maintaining 2 cars is by far the worst part of having both of us race. But it would be nice if our cars were the same. We run the same engines now, which helps. But carrying spares for 2 different cars is awful.
We know.
Originally, we used to have an F350 with a big, huge 50-foot aluminum wedge trailer. We carried them on. That was pretty awful. That was pretty awful. We blew a tire nearly almost every trip. But now with the team, and now we have a semi, and so 2 cars is like nothing, and that made the whole traveling aspect easier.
Right.
And then having a crew that can work on the cars helps. But the best part is by far is just racing with someone who you respect and love and care for, and you can learn from each other. Because I love almost all of my competitors in all of the series I race in. I like a lot, so it's fun racing with them. But it's always more fun racing with someone that you really care for or one of your best friends. I can get a lot closer to them, and I can trust them rather than having a bunch of random people out there that might T-bone me at any moment. That's not really that good of a time, if you ask me.
No, not at all.
So from where I sit, with Vicky and Bill, Vicky guards the no option. with
What?
With them.
I don't know this word. What is this word?
So it is with you two. Who does anybody do that, or are you just both all in? Or
I think we're both so competitive that it's almost bad because we don't really have someone to say no. So then we almost get too deep into it. But I think I might be a little more rational than you when it comes to.
I don't think so. There's not a lot of no's. I mean, that would certainly save us a lot of money. I mean, we could have definitely waited on the engine swaps and just ran for a whole season with reliable cars. But
We wouldn't have been at the
Tiffany
top.
didn't say no. She said, yes, I'll take one too. And here we are.
I could say as a couple though, I could say there's pros and cons. Like there's definitely moments where you're like, I don't know. For me, it's like I always want to be at the same level he is. So I don't ever want to be, and I know it sounds really stupid, but I don't ever want to be that couple where he's like out winning and I'm at the back and they're like, oh, that's cute. His wife's back there. Like I always want to, the most fun I have on the track is when I'm behind Justin or in front of Justin or next to Justin. Not a ton in front. We're always kind of close, but at least when I'm closing race wheel to wheel with him.
Right.
But I never like, if I'm not actually battling out with him, it's not as fun. Like I love all the other competitors, but I definitely have a blast when I'm like racing against Justin. So for me, it's like, I always want us to have the same platform, same level of fairness. I think I always just want us to have, and if it's because I know where I'm at, it's because of skill and I've worked to get there. But I just don't want to be, I don't want to be participating. He's just like, oh yeah, my wife races with me, but really I'm not really doing anything. I want him to be like proud of me when I like, and I love when you definitely, I just love when he actually gets excited when I actually get close or win or whatever.
Definitely.
And he gets stoked.
We definitely learn, you definitely learn more racing as a couple than you would by yourself, because you learn from each other's mistakes. So instead of one person making a mistake, you have two people that make a mistake, so you can learn off each other, which is great. And Tiffany, being a female, has things that she's able to do. She processes decisions much more rational than I do, which is helpful in some instances. And in other ways, I don't have any self-preservation, which is a male trait, which is helpful to Tiffany. So together, they kind of work out and balance each other out, and we get the best of both worlds. So
yeah.
So there's definitely pluses to
absolutely
racing against each other. Do you have difficulty racing against each other?
I think I don't. Like I do have moments where I've caught myself, like I've given you a pass like once. Like
we have a lot of issues with Tiffany not trying to like give up a position. I get very irritated with her when she wants to like, where she'll be in front of me, and then instead of battling me, she'll just let me by. That very much irritates me.
And I've only done it a couple times, and it's honestly just it's innate. I don't know. Just I love it's kind of a side of me where I'm like, because I remember the one I kind of gave him the pass was because you had a crappy week and your car wasn't running. It was the first race.
It's just weakness.
Yeah, it was the first race.
You're weak.
I had a moment of weakness where I was like, God, he deserves this. And I kind of just let him go by and then he was mad at me. But at the same time, I love that because I know the couple times I've beat him, he didn't let me have it. He didn't just give it to me. And if he would have, I would have been so irate. Like we did not.
I will never hand you a win ever.
Yeah. And if some people because someone came up to me the race I won, they're like, God, you're a and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I love that he battled me out and made me win, because if he would have just gave it to me, then it doesn't feel good to me. Like, so that's the other thing with us. Like, I don't like to just get handed something. I want to know I earned it so I can be proud of it.
On track, what I try to tell her is I treat her like any other competitor.
And he does.
But that's how it needs to be. I mean, on track, if we're qualifying together where we can work things like that, perfect. But when it comes to the racing, I mean, if it's like neither one of us are going to win this race if we fight each other, so we need to work together and catch this group in front of us, sure. But if we're out in front and it's like, either one of us are fully capable of winning this,
we'll battle it out.
there is no reason for you to give me a single inch. I mean, I want you to battle me like you would anybody else.
Yeah. We're not Team Kelly
awesome.
when it comes to the end. We are not. There is no team.
That is still team, because I'm not going to wreck you.
Yeah, but it definitely is out for ourselves. Like who's gonna.
But that's awesome. I think women in general struggle a little bit, trying to gain that respect, and when somebody's truly looking at you like you're an equal, like that just means a lot. It really does. You're
saying it. That's what I don't want to feel or ever, because that's the old thing too, right? The whole women in racing and I just want to be able to know that I earned it and I'm respected and I'm treated equally. That's it. That's all I want. And Justin does that.
And I'll say something that super frustrates me is there's already enough separation with men and women in sports. And I understand men and women should not be competing in weightlifting. you know,
like you're gonna be.
but like in racing, there is no reason a female should not be as good or better than a male in a race car. So, you know, when I hear women bring up they want to have a all female series, that irritates me. Like that is the last thing that we need. I mean, Tiffany is as capable as anybody else on track, if not better. And that's every series that we go to, whether when we started in NASA, we started in Grid Life. I think that people definitely look at me differently than look at Tiffany. And then after we race a few times, then Tiffany has to earn her respect. But now, you know, everybody knows who she is. And it's like, they know, you know, I don't think anybody that we race with, like the veteran people, nobody looks at Tiffany as a female anymore. And it's very obvious. And like that, I very much appreciate that, because nothing is more irritating than when someone thinks that she's not capable of winning because she's a female. But being underestimated is also a great advantage.
Yeah, I actually miss the underestimation, because that always used to be great too. Then I could just get easy passes.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't even move over because they wouldn't think I'd take it. And I'm like, well, thank you for opening that door. I'm like,
Yeah, don't need to worry about blocking you because you can't pass them. Yeah.
no, seriously, like I've definitely been underestimated. But I mean, it used to be my advantage in the beginning, but now it's like I actually can tell people like, oh, she's behind me. Like I've even been told, like people prepare, but it's not like that. And then to say to Justin, I get what he's saying too, but I do understand where sometimes series want to be. So just to be I know where women would maybe want like a woman's series in cars, like that camaraderie, like something common. I can see that, like,
Right.
But at the same time, the car doesn't know if you're a male or female or whatever you want to be. The car,
Nope.
you know, like,
Yeah.
it's how good you wheel it, right?
Yep. The closest we get is in one of the series that we run, and we race a Chevy S10. We were talking about it before, and it's almost what you said. The people, you'll be behind them, and they'll think, oh, there's no way that thing can get around my race car, and you know, the truck has its ways sometimes.
Yeah.
That's
And the biggest thing we've learned with racing too is it really does there's a lot of it's skill. You can buy the best car, you can have the most expensive car and think I'm going to go out there and beat everybody, but if you don't really know how to drive, you can have the most talented guy and a Miata, like even in a Miata, and beat a Corvette or a high, because if they know how to drive, and that's what people at the end of the day some people just cannot wrap their brain around that. They're like, he's cheating. It's like, no, he's just really good at taking those corners and doing a really good job. And
if I go the entire lap and do not touch my brake pedal, I will probably pass you. Yeah.
But I mean, we all go through it. Even good like racers like us. Sometimes, like if someone blows by me, I'm like, what the heck do they have under the hood? But it's just like, no, they're just really they took that corner faster. Like they came out better. They got on the gas faster. Like there's just so many little things that people just, it takes a lot.
So many variables.
Yeah.
So we have this fictitious person in our hangar garage named Rick, and Rick sucks, right? So if something's going wrong, it's Rick's fault, not mine and not Vicky's. That's our tip. You know, we actually have a box of unmatched gloves because effing Rick didn't put the gloves away, and we're missing, a left on this one and a right on that one. So we've got a few effing Rick boxes around the garage. That's our tip for working together in the hangar. Do you guys have any tips or tricks to minimize, because race weekends and working on cars can get a little stressful, can get a little excitable? Is there anything?
Our pit area is never low on drama.
Yeah.
Tiffany does not handle stress the same way that I handle stress.
Whatever.
But there are instances where Tiffany is more rational than I am. But we have plenty of drama in the pit area, but it's just part of the game.
But I think he said it. It's stressful, right?
It is for sure.
Everybody's you're having your own internal battle of like, you're trying to get over the stress of going out there with the people. And then there's the money aspect of it. And then there's the car aspect of it. Then you're battling yourself with your own skill set. And then you're intertwining with a bunch of other people. Yeah. I mean,
at the end of the day, I'm gonna be frustrated and mad about something during a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well take it out on Tiffany than somebody else, because her and I, at least at the end of the day, can shrug it off, be no big deal.
Not take it personally.
Where if it's a competitor, then next thing you know, they got like this vendetta against me, and now we have to like hug it out and act like we care, and so it works a lot better being able to express frustration between each other where we know that it's not really personal, than have to take it out on somebody else who probably doesn't deserve it. So
Where was Vicky to hear that when Vicky had to leave? So
how convenient.
I know. She's like,
It's stressful. Like nobody, I don't care if anybody acts like it's freaking awesome in the garage and everybody's like, this is the
No,
first
I mean
time I've ever had.
there is a reason why couples typically don't race together. It is definitely not for everybody. It is. I would definitely not say it's easier than racing. So, but if you can get it to work, I think there's definitely benefits.
Yeah.
We've had some really fun times in the garage though,
Definitely.
where we've like laughed and like you can definitely have your highs and your lows with it for sure.
Yeah. I think the joke I always try to use is like, women are much more complicated than men. Like if a man says your dress is blue, he did not say you look fat in that dress. He did not say why are you late. He just said the dress is blue. We don't think
That's
it
all he meant.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
And it's not like, well, you said that and it's my fault. I'm like, no, I said that the car broke. I did not say you. It's not, but it's
That
so
is
much
so
fun.
the truth about women. We like read into
Because I have
things.
just so many hidden little things in your
I
sentences.
think sometimes I'm like a dude where sometimes I'm actually sometimes like that where I'm so like blunt and stuff.
Very rarely.
Like
Yeah.
no, I'm kind of am a little.
Yeah.
I can be a little intimidating because I'm like, just fix the car, like just get it done.
But then on the other side of that is Tiffany thinks that everything is just Tiffany's exact words are it's basic mechanic work.
Yes.
Tiffany
hard
thinks
can it
that
be,
there is
right?
nothing that we cannot repair in 5 minutes and it should be perfect.
It's just
She can
metal.
have no idea how it works.
Yeah.
But it's basic and we should have it right.
I mean, how hard can it be, right?
Right. It can't be that hard.
All right. All right. So we're going to change the subject just a little bit. Since you guys are obviously much faster than we are and much more experienced than we are, we have a personal team issue. I was hoping Vicky would still be here. Jennifer is here. They are sisters and they have the same issue. They're finally starting to get fast. They're having trouble, not on turns. They're actually having trouble on straightaways, like mid-Ohio, somewhere around the flag station. They just start lifting on the back straight because when you get down to the end, those turn markers are boop, 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 and it just feels uncomfortable. And they're having trouble. If you look at their telemetry, they kind of just coast for half the straightaway.
We lived this life.
Justin,
Tiffany lived the half throttle life. We had the amount of arguments we've had about Tiffany trying to tell me that she was full throttle. And I pull up the data and I go, you're not full throttle. It shows me right here. You are half throttle.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the first half of the race she's this way, and then she's like this way.
A no lift decal on the entire dash in giant purple.
Yeah, it said don't lift. Do not lift. Like, was it don't lift?
It was no lift.
No lift. Yeah.
And I mean, it just got down to where every single time they came off track, it was like, we'd go over data and it was like, it just beat into their head, like, you're lifting. You're right. I can hear the throttle in the video. You are half throttle. Because I don't even think and that's where, the side of men don't have any self-preservation, right? So, I mean, we're full throttle until we're in the wall. And so
the guy in front of me did it. I can do it.
Right. We can all crash together, but I'm not going to let him crash better than me.
That's right.
So it just becomes a muscle memory thing, So I think that, you guys need to keep reminding each other, you're not full throttle.
So what I remind myself, and Justin had to talk with me, if you're not on gas all the way, then you're on brake. But there's no coasting in racing.
There's no in between.
There's no coasting. So anytime you catch yourself somewhat doing this half coasting thing, then you need to. So I mentally was telling myself in my head, I'm like, am I on full throttle or am I on brake? Like if you're not, there's no coasting in racing. So I would just remind yourself that all the time you're doing it, because no matter what, go full throttle because you have a brake. So what's the scary part about it, right? Just a foot to the floor all the time. And if the brake, then if the breakers are coming up sooner than later, then get on the brakes. But you should never be in that in between, or you'll never progress. And the straightaway is the easiest place. It's like going down the interstate. Like you're not going to hit anything. Like,
but how did you get comfortable with that though? So
like
you know what I mean? Like there was a reason why you were doing it, and obviously a little uncomfortable with that. And that's where Vicky and I are. It's like, how do you just you know you need to do it.
Well, so because you're intelligent, so it's actually a common thing. If someone actually has intelligent self-preservation, your body automatically, like that's like when we jumped out of planes. Like I used to shake, and I was like, oh my god, like because your body automatically, it's like a self. Like
I didn't shake, I just jumped out.
Yeah, but so what I actually
Better than the next guy.
Yeah,
The guy before me did it.
The biggest thing for me to get over it was actually knowing that things have to be, and I don't know, maybe for you, but for me, I was always expecting everything to be super comfortable and smooth. And I needed to get out of the habit of like, the race car is going to move around and it's going to shake and it's going to make you super uncomfortable. It's not comfortable. And I think we need to get like, for me, it was like, get out that habit of thinking everything's all like going to be smooth and not, I think shifter carts helped me because the shifter carts would bang me around, bruise my ribs, hurt me. And
I don't think that that's a good comparison.
No, but
Typical people are not going to go do a shifter car.
But no, I'm saying though, in the cars, so I think that's where you have to get used to the car being kind of out of, you need to get used to when, if you think the car is all smooth and like you're good and nothing feels uncomfortable, it's not making your heart race and doesn't make you uncomfortable, then you are going slow.
That's true.
Like until you're to the point where you're actually like, I'm not comfortable, then you're not at the right point yet. You need to get to that point.
And your comfort level will just keep going higher and higher.
It just keeps getting better.
And definitely, you know, Mid-Ohio is not a great place, in my opinion. For like a newer driver, Mid-Ohio is...
It's scary.
Yeah. You know, I mean, if you guys have like a local track or somewhere you go regularly, those are the places to push your limits. And, you know, like our local track where we teach our school, there's really no walls. It's just field. So it's very easy to push a student or Tiffany back in the day and get her to push there. Cause I know worst comes to worst, we're going off the grass.
Yeah.
You know, but going to a track like Road America or Mid-Ohio, it's like, that is definitely a more difficult place to find your comfort level or push past your comfort level rather. But even like at our level, this is where we're opposites, is in the rain, I still tend to drive a little bit reserved because my car is really spotless, hasn't been crashed yet, knock on wood. And I dial it back. And Tiffany has no dialing it back in the rain. So typically what'll happen is in the rain race is Tiffany will catch me and then she'll maybe pass me and then I don't care anymore. And then I'll just send it. But we all have that same fear. It's just at different levels, but you just have to keep, you know, baby steps. Don't go from, you know, 25% throttle to now I'm just going to go full throttle, because when you start going off track a bunch, it just takes your confidence down a notch. So you got to ease your way up to it for sure.
But you literally have to make yourself uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like the first race I had like a really big win. It was a corner, it was at PPIR and it was a corner. Everybody was kind of lifting for this oval and there was a little bump. So it made it a huge bump. It was uncomfortable. I kept my foot to the floor and my leg was literally shaking like so hard that I could barely keep it all the way to the floor, but I was just making myself. And then after that though, then every time I went through more and more, I was just like, my leg wouldn't shake and I was super comfortable with it. So it's like, you just have to like slowly make yourself uncomfortable and then you'll gradually build it up. It's weird. Like you acclimate to it.
What do you
That's
think,
awesome.
Jen?
Thank you. That's great advice. It really is.
It really, I hope it helps because it's once those levels, and that's what I always say, like when I see certain people hit a level and they're like, I can't get past it. It's like, you have to get out of your comfort zone.
There's so many plateaus in the learning.
And I think part of, and Bill, you mentioned Mid-Ohio, part of that straightaway is it's the longest straightaway only because they added to the track, but like, it was so unnatural to keep your foot down that long, you know what I mean? Because I've never been on a straightaway that long. So it was just like,
become natural.
Right. Now because it's coming up and it never was.
Right. And that just comes down to just turning more laps. You know, the more you run at those speeds, the more comfortable you'll get and the easier it'll be. I mean, turning laps seat time is everything. So, you know, and I tell Tiffany, every lap that you do on a track should be a learning experience. If you're out there turning laps, doing the same pace and the same things, you're just burning money because race cars don't run on $0. They cost money. So anytime you're on track, you should be doing something, whether you're getting yourself to push faster in a corner or going faster on a straightaway or braking harder. You should always have a goal every lap of what I want to work on and try something new. Otherwise, you're just wasting time, wasting money, and just ultimately wasting your own time.
Right.
So
No, I think I'll give our team that. Every time we go to the track, like there's everybody's like all into it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no wasted time. So
good. That's the best way to do it for sure.
I will warn you that once you start getting to that peak though, that's when it gets hard when you hit a plateau. And then it's like trying to find tenths of
Yeah.
like a
Yeah,
lot.
you-
That's when it starts getting like, oh.
Yeah, I definitely feel the learning curve is like pretty steep. Like you learn at a very fast
Yes.
rate, then you'll hit like a little plateau, and another really big. But then you get to a point where your learning curve is like, I'm at the edge, and at this point I either go 2/10 faster or I crash.
Yeah, it's
And so that definitely is hard. But it's a long ways to that point, in my opinion. Especially, I mean, typically once you're getting close to that, the car
it's what
is
you're
needing
looking at.
improvements. Like as
Mhm.
as you get higher, faster and faster, like always run with a car that is better than you. That way the car can always, when you're driving past what the car is capable of doing, that is when you typically get into trouble. As long as the car is always better than you are, then you always have that little window where, you don't think you're going to make the corner, but the car gets
car
around
will
the
make
corner.
the corner.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's you
Right.
who's holding back, not the car.
Yeah.
So,
It's always us.
well, and honestly, that's why we end up
That's
going to
what I
the J's. Like, I think we maxed out our Fs. Like, we were pushing those cars. Like, I was pushing my S2000.
Yeah, the
on
F series, it
F-Lite.
was tapped out,
to
and it was
them.
like,
And eventually, it was like, I need a little bit more. Like, I am pushing this car to the raggedy edge, and
Yeah. Once you start
Tapping it
getting
out.
to the point where you're getting almost everything out of it,
Right.
you need a bigger bucket.
yeah.
You're going to get there, Jen.
I know. It's yeah.
It doesn't
getting
help
there.
that you're a nurse either, though. So,
It honestly that doesn't probably, that probably doesn't help, but I think everybody, I've seen it with different people. Some people just know fear, some people, and it's a different learning curve, but you'll get past it. It's a tough one though. We all go through it. And I've talked
And it's all in your head. It is really all in your head.
it is. It's all mental.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the sucky thing is, that. Like you know it's in your head.
like, who lifted my
Yeah.
foot? Yeah. Yeah. So
But it actually makes me feel good that we all go through it though. It's not even discriminatory against men or women. Like we all really go through that learning curve of like facing your fear on it. So that's
But I don't think a lot of people talk about it though.
Well, I've noticed, Jen, you're actually bringing up a great point, is I've never noticed, I always was like, God, this is just me. Why am I being such a pansy? And then it's funny, the more guys I talked to, the more I got into it. It was like, oh, guys go through it. They're just put on the brave face about it. And they don't let people know how hard it is to get to the stage of racing.
Right.
Women are just more vocal about it. And we're obviously a little bit more emotional and talk about it. But that's why it looks so easy when you're talking to guys you're like, oh, it seems so easy. It's just because they're not vocalizing.
We don't show weakness. That's how we're raised.
it's like turn signals. They're a sign of weakness. You don't need to know
Yes.
what I'm doing. I'll do it. I'll take care of it. Just stay out of my way. Don't worry.
I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you where I'm going.
I will be there now. Yep. That's very cool. How are you guys doing on time? Because we got another section. If you guys want to play more, if you guys need to boogie, we can end it here.
We can play more.
Yeah, I'm doing
All right,
fine.
very well. All right, Jen, you get to do the intro because Vicky's not here.
Oh, okay. So this next part is kind of like they're Fast and Furious Storytime questions. So it just lets our audience get to know you a little bit better. So don't put a whole lot of thought into it. Kind of what comes to your mind first. So we're just going to ask some quick questions and just get to know you better.
Okay.
So the first one is, what was your first car and what was the worst car you've ever had? Ever, like in your life, not necessarily in racing, but ever.
Well, you always have great cars.
My first car was a 1991 Honda Accord, which I did race in autocross, and it was a fantastic vehicle.
Which engine? Is that a B or is
the worst vehicle I have ever owned? Man, I've owned a lot of vehicles.
He's definitely on
The worst vehicle I've ever owned.
What about this? Did we own that one minivan that was the Chrysler?
Yeah, I used to buy a lot of auction cars. I did own a Chrysler Town and Country for like 3 days too long, and it was awful. Everything about it was awful. Other than that, I try not to buy awful vehicles, but that one was particularly bad, for sure. Tiffany, what about you? Best car you've ever owned?
Best or worst? They
Best.
Worst.
No, they said both.
first and
First.
worst?
What was your first? Oh, that's right.
Well, first the one I first bought, my first one was a Saturn. It was like a 5-speed Saturn. I can't remember.
SC2.
It was a green one. And
Yeah.
I wrecked it. And it was the first car that our auto body team ended up using for an experiment for the class too, because I ended up wrecking it.
Yes, repair the plastic car. That's a good car.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great time.
It was horrible though. It wasn't a great car. Worst car. I'd almost have to say my F-150.
That's pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. It was running on like 3.
When I met Tiffany, she had an F-150. It was a V6. But it only had maybe 4.
It was only because
half
I used to
cylinders.
live overseas though. And then when I came back, my dad ended up being like, you can buy my old truck while you're getting back on your feet. Cause I was overseas and I needed to buy a vehicle and stuff. So I bought his F-150 and I mean, it was okay. It got me to and from.
That's pretty bad.
It wasn't like, it wouldn't have been a vehicle choice.
No. All right. So since you guys are here, we find that it's harder for you to answer yourself. So we're going to tweak this one a little bit. What is one thing about the other that nobody knows that would surprise them? So Tiffany says something about Justin, and Justin says something about Tiffany.
All right, you go first. First and the last one. I need a minute to think.
I don't like something that somebody doesn't know about you. I don't. Most people know everything about you. It's kind of an open book.
How about something that would just surprise somebody?
Well, the one thing that's always in like, he doesn't like cheese on cheeseburgers.
That works.
Yeah, like, and he doesn't like cheese, but he'll eat mac and cheese. And I think it's the weirdest like phenomenon ever. Like he won't have put cheese on anything, but he loves mac and cheese and will eat pizza. And it just actually kind of drives me nuts. Cause then sometimes we go to restaurants, they'll like forget my cheese cause they'll ask for no cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to sacrifice my cheese love for.
Cheese and meat.
Nobody needs cheese. What about Tiffany? Tiffany used to live, like you said, overseas, and she is much more diverse in what the world looks like than a typical person. I have only been to Mexico as far as I've gotten outside of the United States. And Tiffany has been to like Japan and China and Korea and Turkey. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that either. Not a lot of people.
What was your favorite food in Korea?
Ooh, that's hard. Like bulgogi's always like barbecue.
See, we're more Kalbi people, but you know,
you know, all of it. Like, and I miss my good old kimchi. I lived there for like a year and a half in South Korea.
Very nice.
Yeah, and Turkey. I was there for a long time. Addicted to coffee. So in Turkish coffee, it was like amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always good. Miss Jen?
So what is the car from your family that sticks out in your mind? So you mentioned the truck, your dad's truck, but is there like a childhood car, or is there something from your childhood that kind of stands out? Forever?
So my dad, he's like, he was a car guy when he was younger. He didn't really wrench on cars, but he liked to buy like unique and fast cars. So he had a several 1987 Buick Grand Nationals.
Wow.
I remember when I was younger, we always drive around in this turbocharged Buick that was pretty freaking fast for back in the 90s and 80s. And to this day, like that car is still just something that I'll never forget. That thing was just a monster.
So would you race that in GLTC?
So he has several, and we have talked about not GLTC, but I would love to take one and make it a road course car. I think it'd be super cool. One day that'll probably happen.
It would be.
My family never had cool cars, but I know when my parents apparently met, my dad had a motorcycle and she loved his. And so I must have, that's where I was like, where did I get my car gene? But so I must have got my motorcycle love somewhere on my dad's side then.
Okay. So you just walked us into it. So there's another podcast that I listen to. It's Spike Ferenson's podcast. He was a writer for Seinfeld and other shows, but he's a car guy. Likes Porsches, but you know, we don't hold that against him. But he has this concept of a taproot car. It's the car that got you into cars. It could be a Hot Wheels car, it could be a neighbor's car, it could be anything really. So Tiffany, what would the taproot car be? Would it be the motorcycle from your parents? Would it be something else?
I definitely think I have to say my very first motorcycles got me into racing and cars and stuff. But my very first motorcycle was a 500 EX Ninja that I bought behind my mother's back with the money I made for my internship. And I wrecked it 3 days later and ended up going to the hospital. And my mom didn't know about it. And so the hospital had to call her because I was a minor. So to treat someone in the state of Nebraska under the age 18. And I actually I got kicked out of my house over it because my mom's like, you cannot have that motorcycle while you live here. And I'm like, well, I choose the bike. And I ended up moving in with one of my girlfriends at the time because I refused to get rid of this motorcycle. And then it just kind of was a path since then. Like, that is really where it all began.
She set the bar pretty high, Justin. You got to tap her.
Mine was no question the old 91 Honda Accord. So it was my first car. Like I said, I drove it all through high school. And then when I went to college, I actually took a automotive class where we pulled the engine out and built the engine. And then I blew it up shortly after. So then I got to build it again. So that was definitely the car that kind of got me hooked on everything. And the love of Hondas, I mean, came from that. That car did things that, Honda Accord shouldn't do. So that was no question my first car as the beginning of it all.
Cool.
I do, you know what? I just randomly thought of something people don't know about Justin that would
sure.
kind of probably shock
We'll
them.
we'll double dip. We're good.
Yeah. But he actually was in a car wreck when you were 17, 18.
Yeah. 2010.
Yeah, he was in a car wreck and broke his femur, his jaw, everything.
I broke all kinds of bones.
Yeah, was bedridden for like 6 months. And so people don't realize that about him. And then he races cars. So for me, like when I think of that fear, he's literally.
I was not driving.
He wasn't driving either. He was actually in the passenger seat. Like.
Yeah, we hit a tree at 100. And I pretty much missed my entire senior year of high school. But,
But you're still racing.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everybody can still race though. You can get in a total wreck and
Yeah, my parents my first car was bought with the entire goal being they wanted me driving and not my friends.
That's there's something to that.
He learned.
It works.
Yeah, but to me, I just think like after wrecking that hard, you would think it would stop you. But I think he's the most fearless guy I've ever seen in a car. So apparently doesn't mind.
He's earning it.
You just got to get back on that pony.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do your cars have names?
Not really. I mean, we refer to the S2000 as the Unicorn S2000 for two reasons. One, because the car is a unicorn, because it has come back from the dead several times, and it is unlike, I've probably driven 30 S2000s in my lifetime, and her car is just different. And there's just something about that car that is just good. It's so good. And also because I bought her a small stuffed animal unicorn way back in the day. That's always been in her car. We zip tied to the cage. And then last year, my brother and I went to the gas station to fill the semi up before heading to one of the Grid Life events. And they had a literally 6 foot tall unicorn stuffed animal. It was hilariously overpriced. It was truck stop. They wanted like $50 for it. Ridiculous.
That's not really overpriced.
For a stuffed animal? But they said that they would give it to me for half price. I was going to buy it regardless. But I bought it and we stuck it in Tiffany's car in the trailer before we left. So she had no idea that it was there until she walked out and got in her car to unload it at the track, which we have. I think is that video on the YouTube channel? I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
Hilarious time.
It is. It's a good one. I enjoyed it.
That unicorn has come with us, the whole team, to the track now.
And we still have like little girls who will ask Tiffany to bring Uni the unicorn to the track. So Uni goes everywhere, karting, whatever. She comes everywhere.
Uni's pretty much our mascot now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So did you guys have
has no name.
Your car has no name? Yeah.
When mine was silver, it was called, we used to call it 50 Shades because it was like a bunch of different gray colors and silver wrecked it. And so we used to call it 50 Shades, but then now
everybody stole the name. So now.
Yeah. Then it got stolen. There was a bunch of other WRL cars with 50 Shades. And I was like, oh, and then I told Justin I wanted to name my car Ladybug this year, but he thought that was too.
No, that's not.
See, he won't let me.
No. You gotta win. All you gotta do, how about this? You make a deal with him. You can name it after you win your race.
Yeah, true. There we go. Yeah.
No, I'll name it.
No.
I'm trying.
It's not gonna be named Ladybug.
I don't know.
Because Tiffany is not that person. That makes her seem like she is like a girl that names things, and she's not. That's not her.
No, so no eyelashes on the.
No, she's much more tomboy than girl, so she doesn't name things.
I like refuse to have anything like pink or anything in my car that shows that I'm a woman driver. I'm like the anti, like I do not want people to know I'm a female in my car. It's just a weird thing. Maybe I just don't want to start off on that ground, if that makes sense.
So perhaps when you were growing up or perhaps now, do you guys have a favorite race driver?
That's probably the same one.
What are you, airtime Senna?
Yeah.
You're still Senna?
Who else would it be?
I like Drift King, Tashia, whatever, the guy with the.
He's so great, I don't even know his name.
Well, I can never pronounce it right. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Drift King, he's like 65 now, probably.
You like Tsuchiya.
Yeah.
Senna has been my idol since ever.
I think that's everybody.
And I don't really think that, I know, but it's just, you go back and watch his videos and
These are insane.
oh man, it's tough.
He could drive a bit. I'm old enough to have watched it, so it was.
The Drift King, though, my favorite one of his, he was like driving with loafers and doing spa, or was it? He was driving an S2000 or something.
No, driving NSX.
And he was driving it in like loafers and just killing it. And I'm just like, this guy, he's like driving like he's like on a Sunday drive and doing better times than other people. And yeah,
he could do a little bit of wheeling.
It was just, he won, like he raced in NSX and the Lemons or Le Mans. And I think he won it. And just, his skill set is just amazing.
Well, so what is that car that got away? Or do you even have one? Like you just had it and just got rid of it and then wish you just didn't.
Oh, I know what yours is.
The Supra.
Oh God, he loved that.
I had a 93 Supra, Toyota Supra that is still around here. I know where it is. I know who owns it because my buddy bought it. But Tiff won't let me buy it back. But that car was just such a fun, cool car. It just doesn't really fill anything. It doesn't make a great race car. It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have any extra space for a car but that car was phenomenal. I love that car.
I don't have a car that got away because right now my S2000 is my car. That's my favorite car so far.
Yeah.
So I haven't had.
We will never let that happen again, though. I mean, if from now on we just don't get rid of cars, we just get more space.
I like that plan.
Yeah.
So the question that every race driver seems to get asked is, what's the fastest you've ever driven, where and when? What car?
The Supra, 172 miles an hour in Mexico.
Mexico. I like Mexico. Mexico's
I always
place.
I always mention my motorcycle because I used to have a Hayabusa. So I've been 200 in Mexico.
Mexico's a good place.
We can't verify that.
Especially if this statute of limitations isn't up. Mexico's a great place.
I mean, that doesn't really count as a car. I've been faster than 172 on a motorcycle, but a motorcycle is cheating.
Him and I raced when we first started dating. Both our motorcycles and topped out 178.
187.
Was it 187?
Yeah.
Mine topped out 178.
Yours was slower. You lost.
Yeah.
Also in Mexico.
So yeah, we raced. I knew that was a moment I knew I was gonna marry Justin when we both took our bikes out. Same bike, same horsepower. Went out on it, and then we're racing, and we both were going through the gears, and then we just kept going through the gears.
I told myself in my head, I said, I am not lifting until she lifts.
And then
she never lifted. So that was.
And that was probably one of those magical moments where I'm like, this is the guy, this is the one, when we both top our bikes all the way to CBR 1000s, 1000 cc like motorcycles. And we're both topped out, pinned out. And I'm looking at, like, I can tell in the corner of my eye, I'm like, yep, this guy.
She didn't look at the corner. I won. I was in front.
Whatever. But you're good.
Oh my. Okay. Jen, you want this one?
You know what? Why don't you ask that one?
All right, very well. Okay, so we have this thing where we're going to win the lottery, and it's going to be a big lottery, and we're going to have a desert island. And in order to say thank you to all the people who tolerated our podcast coming on, we want to have a track for you, and we want to have 5 cars. So what 5 cars do we need to have for you on our island?
Oh gosh.
Now are these like stock vehicles?
Anything you want. Jennifer has a taco truck as her 5th car, so you can do literally anything.
I can't lose a spot to a food vehicle.
No problem. Jennifer's got you covered, so
I got you covered.
I got my FRS, obviously, my race car.
Okay.
the McLaren F1.
F1.
You'll take my car.
Very
I don't even
nice.
know what that was for me.
Whatever.
McLaren F1.
Okay.
A Lexus LFA.
Ew.
Oh, okay. We haven't had
I
one of
mean,
those yet.
They're fantastic, but that would not been my choice.
Have you driven one?
Anyways.
I didn't think so.
It sounds awesome.
Probably another Supra.
Oh, horrible choices.
And the late 90s Lamborghini Diablo SV
Ooh.
Okay.
in purple.
In purple.
Why you guys still cars like that?
I had a model of that car when I was younger, and it's like the most fantastic vehicle ever.
Okay. Well, we all know I definitely want. So obviously the race car. I'll have to take my S2000 just for fun times.
Okay.
But what the Vulcan? What was that one on?
Aston Martin. Vulcan.
Yes. Oh, I dream of that thing. That would definitely be one of them.
Yeah, it better be a desert island for us to have that car. That's a little loud.
Yeah, but it's only like track legal and stuff.
We
like
run no mufflers on anything, just so
Yes,
everybody's aware.
So yes. The other one, I do love the McLaren P1. That would be the McLaren P1.
The worst version of the F1.
I still like that one. I don't know why I'm obsessed. And the LaFerrari, I think that car was one of my top. God, I still have to go down to my roots of like an NSX though. I think I would have to get an accurate NSX to be the last one.
The first gen or the new one?
First gen, white.
Okay.
Have to be white with like the little pop-up headlights.
No, it'd have to be a second gen, not the new one, the middle one. Oh, you
the
want
middle.
I want the pop-up headlights.
Yeah, see, I want like an early 2000s.
Okay.
So that'd be great.
It's all right.
Like I'm gonna let him drive my cars or something. I almost should have threw a drift car in there because that's my goal for this winter is to build.
There's no drifting on the island. Wow.
I want to build a drift car this winter, so that will be happening on the channel.
Worries.
A lot of extra time on our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're.
I want to do all avenues. I think it'll help with the racing too.
Oh, absolutely.
So, so that was just a good prompt for the next question. What is your dream car for a race car and to start a build from?
I'm doing it. The S2000 is the best platform I think for any racer. I cannot argue. Like with so many people have like different cars, but the S2000 is like always been the best platform for me, and it's like a dream platform. So I literally am racing my dream car right now.
That's
I mean,
fantastic.
if I could have something like a McLaren or something, I would totally take that. But I still even think I would come back to my S2000.
You just go slower.
Yeah, actually, I probably would.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Tiffany. I don't know, right? I mean, if there was something I thought was better than my FRS or S2000 platform, we would have bought it already. But if there was no budget,
No budget.
No budget.
I would probably take.
That's tough.
I'd probably take an NSX. Even though they've been proven to be worse than an S2000, I would still probably take one of those and just cut it all into pieces and start from scratch. Yeah, just because they're just so beautiful.
Okay.
So what is your most memorable car breakdown or on the road or track?
Boy. So I still have sold parts of. I have a 93 Honda Civic hatchback. It was around 700 horsepower at one time. And one of the wheels fell off on the interstate a few years back.
Whoops. They go really fast without a car.
I know. I had just bought the car. I hadn't really nutted and bolted it. And I'm driving down the interstate with a buddy with this weird noise. Couldn't figure out what it was. Well, it was the wheel coming off. And come to find out, it had aluminum lug nuts on it. Don't use aluminum lug nuts there. Not the place to save weight.
No, 700 horsepower. I think you can afford a metal steel.
Yeah. So the wheel fell off. I mean, I probably laughed the hardest I ever laughed in my life while still being concerned.
Well, but the wheel actually rolled down and it came back.
Yeah. The wheel went all the way up. Like we were doing 75. The wheel went all the way up the interstate. It was uphill and crossed 4 lanes of traffic. It did bump a van. And then it actually rolled all the way back down and stopped right next to the car. So
lucky.
We were not so lucky when our wheel came off.
Yeah.
It's quite the story.
I don't think breakdown wise, like I've had a couple wrecks, like big wrecks that'll always be kind of memorable for me. Like I think hitting the wall, I hit a wall at Topeka. That That one was painful. I was like, it was my first wheel to wheel race, wasn't it? No, it was like
No,
that
you
weekend.
you were a ways in or wheel to wheel at that point, but you were going for
I was going for the win. We were on the last
on the
corner.
last corner, the last lap.
And I bumped, like, I got it a little out of control. And obviously at the time I didn't have a good enough muscle memory. I should have just throttled through it, but I lifted and then I got like snap oversteer. And so it basically snapped me and then it just threw me into the cement wall. And like the entire car got smashed and it moved everything, like my seat, my transmission, and everything moved like 2 inches. Like it was a hard hit.
Heavy repair.
Yeah, that one was rough. Like, so I'll never forget that. That was kind of put me in my place.
Okay, I get to ask this because Vicky and Jen refuse. Jeremy, Hammond, May, Chris, Matt, other
Jeremy, all day.
all day.
He's so cool. I just love his personality. Top Gear.
Oh yeah, definitely Clarkson for sure.
Yeah, he's the best. His personality is just the best, I think, out of the whole group.
Yeah.
It's just dry humor.
May is definitely bottom of the list for me. He is the opposite of me in every way. Yeah, Jeremy for sure.
He just he can be condescending with a smile and a good accent, and he like knows how to talk crap about stuff, but make it seem like.
And he likes similar vehicles to what I would like. Got it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Loud and obnoxious for sure.
Mhm. Yep.
What are your guys like? What is yours?
I'm not sure Jen's ever seen the show, so that's
No.
I just don't. I haven't. I'm not a regular. So
Oh.
I have all of the seasons and episodes on a hard drive. If you'd like to start from the beginning.
as do you have the first season though? I have the first
I do.
season as well.
I have every single one of them.
Okay, because the used car guy was horrible. The pre-May,
Oh yeah.
not so good.
The actual car series that he got me addicted to was Initial D, the anime series.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
You can't watch the movie. Don't do the movie.
That
That's-
show is.
It is one of the best car.
Yeah.
You'll love it if you're trying to get into racing and you're kind of at that level. Initial D, and so it does take a minute to get into the series because obviously it's anime, so you're kind of watching in the dubbing. You're like, oh, it's a little weird, but it's amazing. The whole series about this guy with this AE86, and he delivers tofu, and he has to races up the mountain, and they talk about cars, and there's all these different great builds, like best series for a real true car person. Like
it takes a couple episodes to get past the anime and the way it's written, but the actual like not knowledge and the way everything is like, oh, it's
amazing.
By far the best series.
It's like we got homework.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's so good.
All right.
And they talk about, it's just the way they teach too, because the kid has this talent and he learns, like he doesn't realize what a good driver is. And then they talk about how the car handles around corners. It's just it's a really good series.
So you used to be able to watch it on Futurama online. You could stream it from there, but look online. Actually, it might
used to be on Netflix.
It was
They
on
took it
Netflix.
down.
I think. Did they take it off?
Yeah, we watched it three different times all season. Like three.
It's one of those things where it has like, so it has hundreds of episodes, and we've watched the whole series several times.
Awesome.
Initial D.
Yep.
Yeah, Initial D. Yeah.
All right.
And it's,
Jen,
yeah.
Jen, your
So-
favorite question?
What is your favorite car movie or car from a movie of all time?
Favorite car movie? Well,
I mean, it's always Fast and Furious for me. The original Fast and Furious, the first one, is probably one of my favorite ones ever.
which car?
Which car? Ooh, and that one. There's so many though.
You can have them all.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with the old,
like the empty.
the old Supra.
Yes.
That was kind of the staple.
There's a theme here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This one was the one I'm looking forward to the most with you two. What is the car that you would love to switch into that you're currently racing or raced against in the past? You take the person out of the car, you put yourself in the car, and you go race.
I just love that car so much.
Well, they don't get your car. You just get their car.
I know. I actually haven't raced against a lot of builds where I'm like, I don't know. It's really hard. I have not raced against a build where I was like, that's such a sweet build. I want to race your car. I'm trying to think if there is like a cool build. Because
Justin has
everybody
to-
race against is a bunch
Oh.
of Miatas.
Ryan Christoph's CRX.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, I would definitely take that for a race.
Okay.
Yes, that is a sweet build. It's a
All right.
CRX, and he races with us in GLTC, and he has made that thing.
First gen CRX. That's what makes it.
Oh, so where would you race that? What track?
It'd be a GLTC, and it would be at. His car does really well at Mid Ohio. I hate Mid Ohio, but probably run it there.
Tiffany, you going Mid Ohio?
Yeah, I think it. Do you think? I think it would do pretty good at Gingerman. I think it always does good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I know there's got to be another build that we've raced with though, where I'm like that's a sweet car.
Well, it's hard
Well,
because
not just-
the first one that comes to mind is hard to. It's hard to think of everybody. It's like, oh, there's always, once we hang up, it'll be like, oh, it should have been,
Well, yeah, and then I love. I'm so partial to the S2000, so I'm like, I mean, I think maybe because I don't like Eric Cattell has a Civic,
Mhm.
but I'm not very keen on front wheel drive, so I probably wouldn't steal his. And then the other guys have the Miatas, but they're all just K swaps, so I'm like, meh.
What about the big purple vet? That's different for you guys for GLTC.
I've driven so many C5 vets that they're all awful. I tell Jeremy that right to his face. It's an awful vehicle.
Yeah, Jeremy drives a gray, and Jeremy's amazing.
If I wanted to drive a dump truck, I just buy a dump truck. They turn
With
exactly
bad
the
plastic
He-
buttons.
He's doing well with it. He's doing.
He is.
Yeah, so I don't think I would just stick with mine. Everybody can go race their own. I still wouldn't trade mine. I'm stubborn.
That's what I want to hear because I have a lot of hours in that car. So.
Yeah, you do.
So what car, if any, would you want to wipe away from history?
Oh, there's so many.
If I had to just pick one that I had to make go away.
It could be a model or just one specific car.
Anyhow.
Oh, if it's a model, I mean, we just to get rid of Chrysler. That's
Yeah,
easy.
or
Chrysler.
and
Chrysler.
Hyundai would be.
No, I'd take Hyundai over Chrysler any day of the week. Chrysler, goodbye. If I had to pick one car, it would be Chrysler Sebring's pretty bad.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Nobody would miss that vehicle.
No.
The only thing that I can think of that's a redeeming quality of the Chrysler Sebring is you get a free entry if you go race it at Sebring with lemons.
Really?
Do you really?
Yeah, you do.
But then if it breaks down in the first lap, you lost. It's not. Yeah, that sounds.
It's not even worth it. Yeah, I won't even make it.
Well,
to the
it's a
first
Chrysler
lap.
Sebring. The losing was already taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or those Jeeps with the taillights that have the X on the back.
Oh yeah, Jeep Renegade.
Those are
awful,
horrible.
Too. But if we get rid of Chrysler, it's all gone.
Taking them all. Yeah, you'd have to do all the Stellantis now. But
Yeah.
I think Kia's pretty bad too. I'd probably get rid of all the Kias.
all right,
Yeah.
you guys get around a lot. So, what is your favorite thing to order near a track? What comes to mind first? It's
Beer.
like beer. Okay.
Beer for sure.
There's no like cool meal.
Kansas City, Topeka, the Blind Tiger.
Yes.
Okay.
Their chicken Alfredo is
So good.
so good.
Yeah. That is one place because a lot of the trucks don't have anything nearby. So you
And
really
we get to
don't.
go there this year. We haven't been there in years.
Yeah, but it's funny. A lot of trucks, you never have food around, so you always have to grill it. But yes, the Blind Tiger by Topeka. And then when Gingerman does have their fest, sometimes when Grid Life has a fest down in Gingerman, sometimes all the food tents. And I don't know what that kind of food, but they're these little, it's like Ethiopian something.
Yeah, hopefully they're back this year.
Oh my gosh, we got we were drinking at the festival, and I swear we sat at that person's tent the entire time. We'd get a line, we'd eat a couple, then we get right
I don't
back.
know. I
in
don't know how
line.
good they were though. We were heavily intoxicated.
Well, enough for us to go back in line 5 times
Yeah.
and keep continuing to eat them. So.
Justin, I hate to tell you that there's cheese on the fettuccine Alfredo. I'm just
No. I just don't want cheese on certain things. I love mac and cheese.
It makes
I just don't want
sense.
cheese. I don't need cheese on my hamburger.
Uh-huh.
I don't need cheese on. I don't know what else. Hamburger's the main thing. I don't want
hamburgers
cheese
the
on
big
my
one.
hamburger.
Okay.
We'll put cheese on Philly and stuff. Who
I don't
has
need
a
cheese on the
Philly
Philly.
without cheese?
So what is your favorite track so far and your favorite turn?
Favorite track. I knew that question was coming.
I still
Or
love
top
PPIR.
3 if you're having a hard time. Maybe.
PPIR is going to be one of my favorite. We're racing at it next weekend, and I think I just love the.
There's two sides though. Like Pikes Peak as a track, not that great. But Pikes Peak as to race on with competitors, it's
Mhm.
awesome.
Right.
Road America, I absolutely hated
Okay.
But last year it grew on me a little bit. Road America is okay. Topeka, Heartland Park, Topeka, always up there.
What's one of your favorites?
It's a pretty good track. Topeka's pretty good.
I actually liked. We only raced there once for a WRL. Is the other one? In
Oh,
Colorado.
High Plains. High Plains.
That track is super cool.
Yeah.
Because the elevation drops and
Right.
everything. And
High Plains
have
is
you
great.
raced there? That one.
We're trying to get out there next season. We were going to try this season. One of our teammates moved out to Denver, so
Super cool.
Yeah, we did the 24-hour WRL out there. We did not make it 24 hours, but
you gave it a run. Do you have a favorite turn? Any turn that sticks out?
the kink at Road America.
I think
Really?
it's cool. Yeah.
Most people
Yeah.
don't like the kink, but okay.
That's why I like it, because that's my biggest advantage, because everyone has the whole fear thing going on there. And
So let's see. So the corkscrew at Laguna Seca would be the K swap of turns for you. Is that what you're saying?
I've never been to Laguna yet, so it's hard to say. Laguna's also, though, one of those tracks where when I was younger, it was on my bucket list, and every year that goes by, I care less and less about it. Because it's just so common.
So we went out there, and after the first couple times, the corkscrew wasn't the best turn on that track.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's the one from the video game for sure, but
Like being in the video game, it's awful. I lose all my time there, or I crash.
or you get a lot of air and end up in the trees. But yeah, I'm with you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
So, in your opinion, how much of racing or driving is learned and how much of it is natural skill?
I would probably say
It's tough.
just depends on what competitive level you're at. I think that you can go from no natural talent at all, and you can learn up to 70%. I think the last 30% to hit that really, like, to be a top competitor, I think 30% of it has to be, you have to have at least some kind of natural talent.
And you can't lift your foot on the straightaways, John.
No, I do think, and I agree with him. There has to be some kind of, because with instructing, I can get in a car with a student and know in the first couple laps
Yeah.
if they're going to be successful or if they should just take up.
Some people just don't get it. You just can just tell they're not going to get it. It's just not for them. And the other people, it's like immediately you're like, boom.
You can tell it clicks for them.
Yeah.
And like, there's just certain racers who just in their brain, they know how to hit that turn. They know what the right measuring, like when to break into that turn. And it's just naturally a thing. And so they're always going to be. So I think there's some natural, but you can practice. Practice makes perfect for anything. So anything, but I think there is a base talent that needs to be there.
All right. So nobody listens to our podcast. Its last name isn't Fisher or Skripchuk. So you don't have to worry about this. But as far as your driving and racing, what is something you're relatively good at? What needs a bit of work? And what is the biggest area for you to improve?
Want to go first?
No. You go.
Okay.
Nobody ever wants to go first on this
The
one.
thing that I would probably am the best at is, I would say probably learning new tracks from scratch. I can pick that up pretty quickly. I think that came from autocross and karting. That's one of my strong points. Weak points would be braking. Braking is something that I feel like is one of my weaker points. Things I can work on that I could improve.
There's always something to improve.
Oh, I know braking is high on my improved list. I feel like I can always go faster. I can always push a little harder. I need to get, I feel like a few years ago, pushing one more tenth was easier than it is now. So I definitely need to work on pushing harder always.
Like each lap or a whole race? What do you mean?
Well,
So-
that's a great point. Like in a race, I mean, you always get to where you kind of settle in. And I think that's the difference between a good racer and a great racer, is someone who every single lap, every single corner is at the limit. And I think sometimes I kind of get into like a rhythm where I'm not pushing the car and I'm just comfortable. Need to get over that.
So your natural groove isn't the limit.
No, it's close, but maybe it is, but it needs to be higher than that. I don't go off track very often.
He does
Right.
not.
Right.
So that means I can go faster.
Yeah. That by definition, the limit would be going more. So yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Tiffany?
I definitely think I'm good with aggression and wheel to wheel. How would I say? My racecraft is probably
racecraft, you're really good.
better than most, because I can definitely say Justin's probably fast putting lap times down. Most people are, but I will somehow get to the top 10 because of my racecraft and my aggression. So I just
Just handling
set people
traffic
up.
and stuff. And
Yeah, like I set people up, I just think about it, and it's kind of like a chess game, right? And I just
Mhm.
set them up in a correct way. So I know, and I just kind of try to spot out people's weakness or their traits of like their habits of how they drive. And then that's just kind of how I try to move up. Because sometimes, and that's where what I could get better at is like laying down better qualifying laps, because that is a huge thing for us in racing wheel to wheel, because that's kind of your starting place. And I'm
Right.
really, really, really bad at going out and just putting down a fast lap, like, because I don't know what it is, but wheel to wheel brings out that aggressive and more
Mhm.
like focused side of me. So if I don't have someone so I'm out there just trying to put a lap down by myself, it always seems to not be that good. So it's something that's what I'm kind of bad at, is putting down. So that's what's something I'm working on still, is trying to be able to be that have that focus and that assertiveness without other cars around me, and just do it on my own. instead
So
of
does
external.
does the same thing happen if you're leading, or is it?
I actually struggle leading sometimes too, because like it's a lot of, because I like chasing. I definitely think there's something about chasing that
Yeah, you still have
carrot.
that pressure though. You know, you still do a good job leading because you know we're coming.
Yeah, I led a race at the last GLTC race of the
Yeah.
season last year. I led it for almost the entire time till the last couple laps, and
Mhm.
there was so much pressure on the back of my head. I'm like, don't screw up, don't miss that apex, like
Ross Bentley says never use the word "don't."
yeah. Oh,
Keep it,
really?
keep it positive.
Interesting. Yeah. So I definitely, those are the spots where I know good, but there's always room for improvement with Drake. I don't think there'll ever be a day until the day I die that I'm saying I'm a really good racer. Like I'll always.
Right, that's
I
the
got
thing about
this.
racing. It's endless.
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's everybody's like, well, when are you going to be satisfied? I'm like, well, I mean,
Never.
to a point. Never. You know.
Never. That's what I think. I honestly, that's my true love for it, because it's not something you can never stop. Like you can always improve. It'll never end. It's not
Mhm.
something you can complete. It's just a constant, continuous growth thing.
It's almost like you're always in training.
Yeah. Like
It's something that you can never truly be the best at. I mean, there's always somebody better. That's the best thing about it.
but it's
Yeah.
motivating though. So that's what I like. But everybody has something that makes them wake up in the morning and get their clothes on and go to work. And I, like, someone asked me today, like, what drives you to get up every day and work? And I was like, racing. Like I literally come to this job every day
Yeah.
and succeed in it because I know it helps me to race. So like,
Yeah.
it helps
That's
me wake up every morning.
It's a great way to think about a job that, may not be everything you ever wanted, but it lets you do what you really want to. So,
Not
Works.
yet. Baby steps.
exactly.
Mhm. So, well, that concludes our interrogation. But that was awesome. It
It
let
was.
us let our listeners get to know you personally a little bit. So it's pretty cool. So how can we keep in contact you, or people keep in contact or follow you? Any social media? Do you want to share?
Yeah, Tiffany Kelly Racing on Instagram is kind of where I try to keep up, like almost on a daily, of what we're kind of doing on builds, and then our YouTube Team Kelly Racing that we are trying to keep up with more. I think we've been a little behind.
It gets a little behind, but we'll
We'll
catch
get
up.
there.
We just got to get the cars sorted first. But
And then I am currently in a race competition that's airing on the Discovery Channel, and it'll be airing on Monday, July 19th. It's called The Getaway. It is from Fast and Furious, and it's an ultimate driving competition, and they chose 25 drivers, and a bunch of us are racing each other for a grand prize of cash. And it's like a reality TV show somewhat with racing. And so if some people want to see that, I'm actually in the season finale, so I am on the episode. I think it's on August 8th, so it'll be kind of a cool experience to.
So all those Fast and Furious people, those ludicrous people, those Team Kelly Racing people, tune in.
Yeah.
definitely.
That would be
Cool thing.
fantastic. Well, I don't know that this would be the first car show Jennifer will watch, but I guarantee she'll be one of the people watching. We'll be there.
Appreciate you guys having us on for sure.
Yeah, and it was great to
Sure.
get to know you all too. And Jennifer, if you ever have questions, feel
Yeah.
free.
And you guys have questions, reach out.
Yeah, definitely
We
with that
do.
whole racetrack
Yeah.
thing.
I've sent you the dumb questions, like you guys were working on your splitter last year, and I sent in a question going, I'm always worried about putting a splitter on the car because I'm worried about it coming off and damaging somebody else's car. I'm not really worried about my car because that's my problem. And I was like, how do you mount these things? And you guys are like, we're going to get to it. It's just you guys are so busy. It's hard to get to everything you're going to get to. So, but
Well, he
Yeah.
did make mounts. He just has never shown it. Like he literally
Yeah,
fabricated
I
some
got to.
mounts that make it easy to unclip them and clip them off. We just need it. So we
But
will
that's
remember
that's yeah, that's a good episode to talk about.
We
got
will.
plenty of knowledge from that for sure.
oh, trust me, I don't give up. I think we talked to Tiffany about, I don't know, 15 times saying, hey, is this week good? No, almost, but we're getting there. But you guys are busy. It's okay. We don't mind. And we do enjoy tuning in to see the live and the repeats on the YouTube for GLTC. We've been rooting for you. It was
Appreciate it.
quite
Yeah.
exciting. And it seems like that's one of the closest, best racing, nicest group of people you ever want to see. And everybody's all bunched up. It's kind of like everything you ever wanted to see. And people pass
is.
each other. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is great. I can't wait for Colorado next weekend. I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
it's an amazing group of racers. Like
It is.
every single person in the group are amazing. I really enjoy them all. Like it's just such a great group. It's awesome.
Yep, we're going to get there, whether we're driving, HPDing, or just faking it as press people. We're going to make it out there one time.
You should.
We will.
You
It's
guys are
looking
more
like
than welcome in our pit area, so you let us know.
we'll bother you. We'll bribe you with stickers and other swag. We got tons of stuff to give away. And, our swag game's better than our race game, but that's okay. That's good. We have a good time. So, well, thank you both for coming on. It was great. Miss Vicky had to step out. She's got sister, birthday palooza this weekend, so she had to get down. And Jennifer's heading north, but she's much closer. But thank you both for coming on, and hopefully you had a great time. And we will probably bother you again and see what's going on with Team Kelly Racing in the future.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
No.
You guys have a good night. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Thank you.
Dominating with Dawson.
We're gonna have the weirdest intro ever, Ben. You ready?
I'm super into this.
So there I was watching an old TV show. It was called Get
Mhm.
Smart. And they had
Yes.
this villain. And I was thinking about Ben Dawson.
Good. Sounds good.
And the villain in Get Smart is called Chaos, right? So
Yeah.
Ben Dawson, I believe you had a request to talk about the exploitation of chaos. And I don't think you were talking about Get Smart. No Agent
I
99.
wasn't. I was thinking more like Captain Chaos and Cannonball Run. That's
Okay.
more my.
Okay.
That's my
we could-
spirit animal.
we could do that.
guy.
Dom DeLuise?
Yeah.
Little Dom DeLuise.
That's the cat. Yes, I'm always thinking chaos when I think about this. Yes, Captain Chaos. Yeah.
Somebody needs to make a shirt.
Okay. So we've got another potential option if Dominating with Dawson doesn't hook up as much as we're hoping. We could go with Captain Chaos. But Ben Dawson.
Chaos and with Dawson. Yes.
That's right. Ben Dawson, I believe that sometimes in a race or at the track,
Mhm.
you have a very strong feeling that there are ways to exploit the chaos to our benefit.
That's just a true fact of racing. I don't know if specifically have a lot of examples, but I am watching a car with 3 different colors LED go by right now. We're going to take a picture of it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to send it to you. Oh,
3
it's amazing. That is so rad.
Underglow?
It has pink underglow, blue behind one wheel, green behind the other wheel. Oh my God. Okay. So that's chaos. That's some street chaos. We just
That's
encountered
street
right now
chaos.
some awesome street chaos. Yeah, but at the track, the chaos, what kind of chaos can we encounter at the track?
I think of it in terms of starting is one. The first
Yeah,
stint,
a lot of opportunity for chaos in the start, right?
for sure. I mean, just watching F1 race, it's basically the only time where people pass and lots of people crash. Otherwise, it's just a parade going around.
I like chaos.
Yeah, and one of the big examples I can think of exploiting chaos, especially at a lemons race, but any kind of endurance racing where there's there's a lot of opportunities for there to be a full course caution. A lot of times, the biggest thing that pops in my mind when I think of exploiting chaos is exploiting restarts. When everybody else is trying to kind of just pay attention to what's going on. They may not be ready for the corner flag, the corner yellow flags to get pulled. But when they pull the flag, you're racing again. So you're not necessarily waiting until you go around start finish again. As soon as they're holding the yellow flags out at the corner station and they pull it down, you're back to racing. So that's one of my big things. I like to just try to get a few passes in while everybody else is snoozing on a restart. So if I'm driving around in lemons traffic, for example, when we're under a full course caution, like I'm always trying to get the car, even if I have to duck out of line or get in a weird spot on track, I'm always trying to make sure I can see the very next flag stand. So even if I have to position the car in a very weird place, I want to be able to see the next flag stand, or the one I'm next to all the time. Because as soon as they pull that flag down, I'm going to hit the gas like John Force, and I'm going to go crazy. I'm hopefully going to pass a few people who weren't as aware. And you can do this even better if you have a spotter or something like that who can call the green flag for you from the start stand. But this is something that you can do all by yourself in the race car, and also just make some good track position if you're able to exploit restarts, for one big example.
So snoozing leads to losing. Is that what you're telling me?
That's definitely true. Things we always think about it in our car, because we're never bringing the most powerful cars at tracks. So you kind of use anything you can to leapfrog you forward, and that includes, taking advantage of restarts. Another way to exploit chaos is strategy stuff when you think about pit stops and that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Does that ring a bell?
Pit stops, chaos, and pit stops.
He's watched our pit stops, apparently.
No, but if there's chaos on track and the full course caution hits, you have to always think about how that you always have to be aware that while you're in the middle of a race, like, hey, what are we going to do right now if there's a full course caution? So there's always strategy stuff as far as coming into pits. Is this going to help us if a full course comes out right now? Could this help us get our race strategy done for the day? Is this a good time to come in? So that's another thing to be aware of. That's more race chaos, is you can't control full course cautions or when upset conditions happen. So it's another thing to be ready for and to exploit. And that's what the smart people on my team do, not me. I'm not the strategy person. I just drive the car. But good teams are out there with a contingency plan ready to exploit chaos in the form of full course cautions too. Because you have the all day to race out there, and you got to have an idea of this is how many stints it's going to take, and this is how many drivers I'm going to need, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, my brain just opened up a little bit there. Wow. I just got some ideas.
Yeah,
like
more
what?
chaos. Yeah, say more. Don't let me bulldoze that. Yeah.
Oh no, I
I
like the idea of knowing where the flags are, because I am the snoozer, and I'm sitting here waiting for the flags to go, and then I go when everybody else starts to go. But knowing that you can position your car, because sometimes they're so far apart that you really can't see them. But knowing that. And getting into position for when it happens, and pulling your car in case, you might just want to do a driver changing gas early in case you're just tired or need to refresh or whatever.
Right.
So if you go into the pits while it's a yellow and everybody's going slow, you lose less laps. The other thing is, why are you at a yellow and so far away from people? This is a chance to suck up all that room and get right behind somebody. You're not allowed to pass, but you are allowed to catch up.
Well, no. Of course that. I'm just saying that he's actually looking out at the flag. So as soon as that drops, he could pass that person or two people in front of him just to get an advantage. And that's a huge advantage.
Vicky, it sounds like she was timing her restarts off, just going when the group goes. And I'm talking about being way more proactive about it. And I'm like down to the micro detail. Like as soon as I see that flagger's wrist move, I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like I want to be.
He's already set up a pass for his when he takes off. He's already lined it up.
Yeah, I've already hopefully got a plan, and I'm very close to the traffic ahead of me in a full course caution scenario, and I'm hoping that I'm going to position myself, even if I have to put my car in a totally wacky spot on track to be able to see the next turn better. I'm going to do it just so I can know. I want the information so the people around me. So even if I have to put myself in a weird place on the track, I'll do it so that hopefully I can see that the track got hot before everybody else. Like if the track goes hot when they pull the flag, I'm ready to go. So. But that's been me forever. Like when I used to race karts on dirt, we would be lined up for restart, and the entire field would be lined up nose to tail, and I'd usually be somewhere pretty far back in the field. But and I was never the guy who had the best clutch. I mean, these guys would replace their clutch every couple of weeks, and I didn't have that kind of money, so I never had the hardest hitting clutch or anything like that. So the advantage I would have I would just duck out and watch the line. Nobody else would do that. So I'd be I would duck out of line a little bit, but as soon as I saw that light come off, the light go on or come off or whatever it was, I would nail it, and I could usually get a couple of people who were just kind of waiting for everybody else to go. So I think being very proactive on restarts can be really good for your track position and a great way to exploit the chaos around you.
So of all the topics we've ever gone over, this perhaps is the most not Jen thing we've ever talked about. Am I right, Jen?
Yes.
But it's something you're going to think about now.
Oh yeah.
Why not? Why not? Why is this not a Jen thing?
Slow and steady.
I think for Jennifer is that
I'm getting there.
Yeah, she's not quite there right now. She's practicing more on the driving than she is on the strategy of it.
Right.
Balancing the car than throwing it around.
Yeah.
Or a little less aggressive, I think.
Jen's got trauma.
I got.
Yeah.
I'm working through it. It's all good.
It's a process.
It is a process.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over just like jumping everybody I can on track and just like trying to just pass every single car. But we're not all doing the same thing out there. It's okay. It's like you're in a learning phase. But I'm just saying, eventually, with all the chaos, you learn to exploit other chaos that can pop up in the track is weather. That's another thing we can be ready to exploit. So I guess the whole topic that I was so excited to talk about of exploiting chaos is not necessarily the extreme competition that I talk about with the restarts, but just being ready to adapt to everything that's going to pop up in general. So chaos in the track might be traffic chaos with yellows, it might be weather chaos, that sort of thing. So I think it's a good idea to be ready to adapt to it and to exploit it.
Micro strategy.
Yeah, so and we talk about whether or not a full course caution is going to fall to your advantage or not. That's just something to kind of go ahead and be thinking about, or at least have the smart people thinking about on your team. I can't do math, so I can't do it, but that's definitely something that the people who are winning races are ready to exploit whatever pops up, and so that's something to kind of help you level up.
The other thing that comes to mind when we were talking about this question originally was, I remember we were at, I think it was Road Atlanta. And there was a couple cars that were, I know it's going to come as a surprise to all our listeners, they were slower than we were. And there was a lot of cars that we were about the same speed as. And one of the things that we started to do was you could be racing with a car that was just a little slower than you, or maybe even about the same speed as you. And if you positioned yourself right, you could use that slow moving car as a pick to get around that car.
Yep. That's for real. Using slower cars as a pick is 100% exploiting chaos in a racing strategy. That is right out there with everything else. Absolutely.
Explain that, using it as a pick.
I see the slower car that I'm going to pass coming up. I've got some on my tail. I'm going to stuff them behind the slower car as I make my way through traffic. So you kind of position yourself where that car's going to end up getting stuck behind the slower car, either coming into or going out of the corner. But you sort of use like as a pick in basketball. When you use somebody as a pick in basketball, I think that's where somebody coming with the ball. Yep. I don't know what it is. You say it, Bill. I'm terrible about it.
Basically, let's say you're coming around, we're at Road Atlanta, and we're going around turns 6 and 7, going to the big long straightaway. Mm-hmm. And you've got a car that you're in a, let's say a Miata. So you do turns really well, but that big long straightaway is not your friend.
Nope.
Okay. So you're coming around turn 6 and you see a very slow car doing its parade laps on the inside right. You get your Miata out to the outside left, hopefully pushing the car that you're playing with to get stuck behind that slow car, to slow them down going to that straightaway so you can keep the spot in front of them or pass them without having to work so hard. You use them as an obstacle to slow or impede another driver in a nice way, but in a competition way, so that you can either complete a pass that's more difficult more easily, or you can retain your position and keep them behind you.
Oh.
Yeah, you're managing traffic you're managing the traffic behind you. It just means stuffing cars that are close to competing with you behind worse cars in traffic. But it's something you
like if you're racing with
yeah.
somebody and they're like right on your tail, right? And then they can't pass you if you just passed a car and it's between you. They have something else to do. So that slows them down and gives you time to get away.
I got it.
Yeah, and even more specifically, there are opportunities where you can pass the slower car, and by the way you position yourself coming or going in the corner, ultimately your competition directly behind them while you take the hell off. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Miss Jen's
Good
like
to know and learn.
Miss Jen's like, not me, man. Not yet.
You'll get there. The first time you do it to somebody, you'll be like, oh yeah.
That's the evil Ben laugh.
Yep.
So just remember, you don't have to have the fastest car and you don't have to be the best driver. Sometimes you can use opportunities on the track to improve your performance without going any faster.
Yeah, being wily in traffic matters way more than being somebody who can set the best time trial lap. If you're cagey and wily and can make good headway in traffic, no matter what's going on, which includes stuffing fast people behind you around slower cars and that sort of thing. Like if you keep picking them up and putting them down, it doesn't matter. Oh, I mean, it's great to be perfectly precise and the best driver in the world. But if you're just wily and cagey and you're good at just getting transactions done in traffic that other people can't get done, you're good.
I like it.
Well, Vicky's going to be up for a while on this one.
I just bought that.
I mean, now I just
the next time we record.
So I as I was saying, earlier in one of our podcasts, was that I am seeing strategy now, and I didn't see it before. So this is just another thing that is interesting to think about.
Yeah, the more developed you become as a driver, like I think I've always been saying this since we began recording these, but I started this thing already as a fairly developed driver, so I could play these head games right out of the gate. I didn't have to do much learning about the driving when I came to endurance racing. So yeah, these kind of head games are what keep me coming back. It's so much fun, like gaming traffic and like just that flow is so fun, especially if you're passing way more than you're getting past. But either way, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think right now that our learning is still focusing on inputs and feeling. We're now moving on from all of the inputs, and now we're moving into feeling the car. And then after we start feeling the car, our next one is going to be working on strategy.
Head games.
Boop, boop.
A little foreigner action. We're gonna steal some music for this specific episode.
I did not know which band it was, so yes and yes.
I'm here for you, Ben. You help us with answers, and I help you with stupid, useless trivia that gets you absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah, now I know.
We all have our roles, Ben. We all have our roles. All right, Mr. Dawson. It sounds like Vicky's going to be poking me in the ribs, going, "You know what else we could do all night?" So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yes, I was hoping to bring up exploiting chaos as something we could level up to as a listenership, as a Garage Heroes team. Everybody, always be ready to jump on that chaos. It's there for you.
We're gonna have to revisit chaos.
Part 2.
Yes, yeah, we just started unzipping the tent on chaos.
No evil laughs on Dominating with Dawson ever. Very well.
Lot to talk about there. Yeah, definitely. We'll be back.
Tune in tomorrow for another Dominating with Dawson, where we go into chaos and Vicky goes,
Does it make you go,
CNC Music Factory for those playing at home on that one.
Yeah, so we'll have to get Vicky one of those cats with the spike collar she could have sitting in her lap, like when we talk about it next time, like just pet that cat.
That's right. No fur.
I think it goes with all Miata drivers.
The cat with the collar?
No, the wily driving.
Oh yeah, yeah. You gotta be. You have to be. If you're driving to Miata, this is the stuff that just becomes natural to you. Like I gotta figure out how to get by. So let's get some chaos going.
Because I know I'm not passing him on a straightaway.
That's right. That's right. You pass in the chaos. That's where the magic happens.
Miss Jen, does this sound like fun?
Jen's nodding.
Jen,
Yes,
nodding
it
your
does.
head is
She's
not
ready.
the best
Yes, it
podcast.
does.
All right, very well. All right, I think you've got Jen intrigued, and you got Vicky being very sinister. I'm a little worried about tonight. All right,
Yeah,
very
they're
well.
gonna go to bed with visions of sugar plums and passing 4 or 5 cars at a time in their head. Good night.
That's right. That's right. Job well done, Mr. Dawson. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.